up nicely. It's the Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. Yeah, they clean up nicely. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, what's up?
That's the new theme song from Scratch. DJ Phrase just crushed that new theme song. We're so stoked on it. I hope you guys like it. I've listened to it and I know somebody likes it. My daughter is obsessed with it, so it must be all right because she hates everything.
Yeah, he sent that over and I was like, whoa. I text Drew. I was like, did you listen? This is amazing. He knocked it out of the park. That's Phrase singing too. Those are his vocals. He told us he's been going to voice lessons for like 2 years now. And this is the first thing that he sang on. And we're like, bro, what are you doing? You got to start singing more. You sound great. Yeah. So
we need the Phrase album. He's going to be coming on here shortly and talking about just production tips and how he created that. So look forward to that here in the next couple episodes.
Yes, we've got a big guest for you guys today. We've got DJ Brian B coming on the show here in a few minutes. Brian B is awesome. And first, we just want to say thank you guys for listening. We had a bunch of feedback of the last episode with Scooter, and we just want to say thank you for all the feedback. We appreciate it. We appreciate everybody tagging and sharing on their stories and social media, and that we please ask that you please rate and review the podcast on iTunes and Spotify. If you're on one of those listening, the rating and the review definitely helps grow the podcast. If you're on YouTube watching, please subscribe and hit the like button on the video and leave us a comment as well. And if you haven't yet, make sure you hit the YOLO line, 562-246 YOLO. So thank you.
So
guys.
our next guest actually left us a couple voicemails on the YOLO line, which are just incredible stories. And he crushes the private event industry, and his so many stories, good stories. So we just thought, instead of playing his voicemails on the YOLO line, we're just gonna bring him on. And so Fuse, hit that intro on our new guest.
All right, so DJ Brian B, while he might be a babyface, he is a veteran in the DJ game, having over 15 years of experience. After getting his start as a vocalist and a keyboardist in a local cover band out of high school in Orange County, California, he started DJing in local bars. His night became so successful that the owners and management moved his programming and style to be a mainstay in their bar all the nights of the week. He eventually started training and booking other DJs as well. While playing at the local bars, he started working for Pioneer Pro Audio as an equipment demonstrator at their trade shows and soon caught the eye of the local Hollywood elite. He has done events for Elton John, P. Diddy, Snoop Dogg, Jim Carrey, ESPN, X Games, and Tony Hawk, to name a few. He moved to Florida in 2006 and began traveling across the country to DJ big nightclubs in Vegas and New York City, all while having his own syndicated mix show live on the radio. Present day, DJ Brian B now resides in New York City and is being booked still constantly all over the United States and globally. He's one of the founders of the DJ Collective and one of the busiest private event traveling DJs in the country. He also has his own podcast, The Travel DJ Blend. Please help us welcome DJ Brian B.
What's up, man? That's impressive. Got all that in? Holy cow. I was you didn't have to do all that. I feel honored, guys. Great to be with you guys.
No, we're very honored that you would be here, and thanks for always leaving voicemails on the YOLO line, and they're actually the best ones that we get. So we're grateful.
Dude, I don't even remember what I left because I just do it off the cuff when it happens. But Fuse, I was wondering, you got any breakfast sandwiches back there, bro? I mean, that was like one of my favorite things during quarantine was to see the breakfast sandwiches on the menu. You know what I mean?
Speaking of, Drew was just in town. He got a homemade breakfast Sammy made right for him with Cincinnati
Yeah.
Geta and all. Not David Guetta, Cincinnati Geta.
Yeah, it was the Cincinnati Geta, and then he took me to what was it, Skyline Chili, which, you know, Brian being the travel guy was, of course, before I even tell him, he just like texts me, he's like, "Did you get the chili?"
With the cheese, the
Yeah.
triple scoop cheese is just insane.
Yeah,
That's
some
on
people,
the shortage. That's
people
on the
don't-
shortages list.
people either love it or hate it too that are from out of town. So Drew surprisingly was like, "This isn't bad."
So good.
Uh,
Just don't give him any chimichurri sauce. Yeah, that stuff will just wreck him.
Yeah, it's that getting old, man. That acid reflux does not work for me anymore. So we're super honored to have you on. We got a couple things for you. Fuse, hit him with the first question.
well, let's play the voicemail that he left.
Yeah, go
and
for it.
we'll
All right.
start it off with that. All right, here we go. Brian, just so you know, nobody will be able to hear you while we listen to this. So we're gonna play the voicemail.
Yo, Drew. Yo, Fuse. Brian B here. Mr. Travel DJ over here. Just with a rant. I gotta give it to you guys. So hotels. Let's talk about that for a quick second. Why do hotels, in most hotels anyways, especially the mid-grade ones, maybe not the luxe ones or the small, well, actually I've seen it even in the luxe ones. Let's talk about electricity and power situations there. Like the location of the outlets is absolutely atrocious for one. Usually they're not close to the bed anywhere. They're miles apart, it feels like. It's just like, who is thinking through the room design and specifically the power? Like you want that near the bed or at least near the desk. I just don't understand it when it's like miles away in the room. It doesn't even make sense. And then let's go a little bit deeper into it and talk about the actual outlet itself. Like usually it's attached to like a lamp sometimes, or, you know, where like you can't fit like a normal like or a bigger size plug in there because it hits something. So you have to literally find an outlet that's in the bathroom that is unobstructed so you can actually plug it in. Who is thinking through these things? Clearly not DJs, clearly not anybody who needs power. Just idiots. Anyway, hate it. Looking for all solutions. I'm literally on Amazon right now looking for straight plugged charging devices / power devices, and I think I've found one. But holy cow, what a frustration. That's $20 that I don't need to be spending on another adapter to bring in my bag because the power is so atrocious. Anyway, that's my rant. Later, guys.
That's so good. I live that. I live that torture. What my solution has been, I got a battery pack. I got basically a battery pack that goes with me, and I charge it all day. It stays in the hotel, and then I put the battery next to the counter. And that battery pack, I actually bought one for my daughter and for my wife, and I got them a little travel kit, which I gotta talk about it. I got all this USB to lightning that I just basically a little travel plug kit, and it has to stay in their luggage. So that's kind of what I've done.
There you go.
Have you found an adapter on Amazon? Did you end up finding one?
I did. So I had this little thing here, and this is what I was talking about. See how it's just like a brick, and then like the thing I love about it is it's got like 4 USBs into one adapter. This is why it's clutch. And if you're going international, it's got like the international plugs. So you just
perfect.
literally just say, hey, which one are you going to be in this week? And you can switch it out. And it's even got the American ones. But because it's so thick, when it goes into the thing, it doesn't fit some of them because it's like butting up against the the lamp or whatever. So I'm just like, this does me no good because I literally have to bring another like extension cord just to make this thing work. And I'm like, I'm not putting another extension cord in there. So the latest, I've got 2 of them from Amazon that I found. I don't know which one I'm going to go with because I have to check it out. But one is like a normal like computer plug. Here, let me see like this. Yeah, where it just goes in. If you're listening, you're probably not going to see it. But what I love about it, it's got the orb. So it's kind of like, it's got those. It's got the multiple adapters with USB, but it's round and takes up a lot of room in my bag, which I don't like. So I'm gonna see if this one works, but the plug is so good. So the other one that I have is flat, like this, such as this flat, but the plug, I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna work or not. I'm like, can't they just make the straight plug like your computer laptop plug? So I don't know. We'll find out.
Hit Bun DJ Gear up, and they could manufacture both of those together to make the perfect one.
Be the way
or
to do
Brian, that's your next get rich quick scheme right there. Is the travel plug, the travel DJ plug.
Yeah, need a whole line, no doubt. Yeah, so we'll see. I don't know which one's gonna work yet, but I'll find it out soon.
I love it.
Do you have any other travel tips with traveling that you would recommend to guys? There are things that
yes, I do. I even show and tell time, guys. So hold on.
So
hold on. We got
all of our
listeners.
All of our listeners that.
That's the best.
All of our listeners that aren't that don't know Brian. I'm sorry, just real quick. Brian, I mean, I don't know what city he's in most of the time when I text him. This guy's always on the road, so he knows. So listeners, take notes, because if he's telling you this is what you got to grab, he definitely knows.
Well, I gotta, I guess, go against Warren's advice on the pillow situation. I've tried every pillow, including his. Didn't work for me. This one is called the Turtle Pillow. Turtle Pillow. TRTL. It's literally $35 on Amazon. They make a couple different ones, but to his point, it definitely has like the it's like for physical therapy type stuff. So it's definitely meant to like lay your head so you don't even have to put it on anything. It just like literally naturally just kind of falls. Now, I would use every pillow out there. I would have neck cramps or just like it would kinks in my neck every time I get done with it. And they're huge. You either got to blow them up. They don't lay flat. This lays primarily flat. It's a little bit of an angle, but for the most part fits in my bag. So huge win. The Turtle Pillow. If you haven't heard of it, check it out on Amazon. Worth it. And then because I'm an older guy, the back situation has been a little bit tricky. So I always stretch out before I go. And so I've been using like a foam roller. I don't know if you guys are familiar with these yet. You may not be at the age yet where you need it, but for me, I need that thing. So I was looking for one that I could travel with, because the big ones that I typically have at my house, I can't travel with that thing. So they actually make a traveling one that lays flat. You literally just pull this, and then like I'm going to try to do it in front of the camera here, and it turns into like a full-on roller. And it's made by it's called BRAZYN, Brazen Performance. This thing's amazing. I use this like after a gig. If my back is just jacked, I'll totally use this. You actually should be using it in like every joint you actually have, like thighs, whatever. But big win. Foam roller, travel foam roller. Those things go in my bag every time. So just two little travel hacks for you guys.
I love that.
Yeah, that's good.
We gotta get those links and throw them in the. In the comments.
So let's go to another question. It's kind of a going a different direction, but we're gonna ask you. We asked Scooter last week, and we loved this, and the listeners loved it as well. What are your top 5 Serato played songs right now?
Okay. Well, I was telling Drew too, like sometimes when I get these songs and you download them, like it already has a massive like play count that I've never played at one time, but it shows up with like 200. So it's a little bit skewed. So if it's the ones that I actually play, I had to scroll way down. And it looks like my number one.
Mine are skewed a little bit too. And I have clean and dirty, right? So if I do a nightclub, it has a certain amount. If I do mostly private events, usually the clean. But if I combined it, they would probably be higher. So I totally understand.
Yeah. So my private event one that's probably the most, it's actually a transition edit, which I know one of you guys doesn't like those, but I needed it for me. So it's the middle, the Zed and Mary.
I have that one. That's a great one, actually. I do play that one. I do like that one. It's great.
It gets me out. It's like 128 to 107. It's a quick edit that just makes it happen for me. So that's one. And then my second one, which is right behind it, is 1-2 Step Sierra.
Oh, so nice.
I didn't
That's a
realize I
great
was
one.
playing it that many times at every gig, but I guess I am playing it more often than I realized. So I don't know.
It always works. It's a perfect crossover pop to hip hop. Yeah, it's a great one.
I always find myself playing that song too because I feel like in that 110 to 120 range, there aren't very many songs that you can go to like if I'm going from like 100 to 120. So that's
Totally.
yeah.
This past weekend, that set was definitely a highlight in my wedding. So that little 110 to 120 2000s hip hop or 2000s pop, like Sexy Back. I mean, I hit them so fast. It's Sexy Back, Promiscuous Girl, 1-2 Step, Holla Back, and then it's just like pop, 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 and then on to the next. So it's good.
That's amazing.
All right, next, which one? Your next one, or you just got?
My next song. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
What's my next one was Rich Girl, Hall & Oates.
Oh
wow, love that. That's a jam right there.
3. I've been playing it a lot. Actually, I think I heard Digital Dave mention that one for a while, like a couple years ago, and I've been incorporating it into my sets. And I was shocked how many young people know this track. Actually, like, there's a lot of young people that know that. You know,
it is. I get requests for that sometimes, like in certain situations, and it's funny because if you didn't like know any better, you'd probably be like, "What? I'm not going to play." But then once you've played it, you see they do react to that one.
So
the scooter edit,
it's
the one to go with too. By the way,
I do have a question about that. Are you playing? Do you let the bitch ride on the song?
I do.
I do. You let it ride. Okay.
No one, you know what? And it's so quick. I was actually thinking myself, I'm like, did they actually say that too? Like back then in the 70s? But I guess they did. And let it ride. No one even know. And people sing it loud too. So it clearly is a staple in the song for sure.
I love that. All right. And what point are you playing that? Is that like dance set or is this dinner or cocktail?
Usually. Dance set.
Okay.
I'll fit that into like a retro set. So usually like because that tempo is like 84 beats per minute. So usually like I'll hit them hard early and then I'll reset. And it's usually like the second half of the second part of a reset is I'll go down to that low tempo and usually do some R&B or something and then fit that one in there as kind of a transition to keep the old people hanging on. And I'm in and out, dude. I'm like chorus, maybe one verse and out, so it doesn't really doesn't take it. And then my next one, which is also surprising, is so number 4 would be, or number 3, or I guess it is 4. Semi-Charmed Life, Third Eye Blind.
That's a good one. I play that a lot too. I'm guessing the scooter edit of that as well.
Yeah, dude, he's well represented in the library.
Yeah, that one that was one of my biggest songs this weekend too. But I followed it up with All Star. Smash Mouth.
So did I, dude. We programmed the same, bro. Exactly.
It rides so well on top of it on the outro, and it's see, that's like a natural transition where you can really, because it's the acapella epic intro. It really you can hit it anywhere. You don't really have to mix it. You could just cold drop that in, and it's such a good reset, if you will, to get back to that. So yeah, I love that. All right.
And the claps really help too. The claps in that edit really make it. Because if it was just a cappella, it would feel like it was missing something. So the claps really help.
All right. And the last one, or is that it?
Oh, a fiver? Yeah, I got a fiver. Super Bass, Nicki Minaj.
Wow.
Yeah, I play that one a lot too. I've been searching for a way to kind of refresh it. I've heard some stuff recently, but I'm just like, still not for me the way I would play it. So I'm trying. That's on my list of trying to like just make it a little more current sounding. But
I'm gonna send you the edit I use then, because I use it's called the Bass Down Low Party Starter. I don't even remember what pool I got this off of, but it was years and years ago. And it starts with some claps too, so it's really easy to kind of mix in. And then it's got that whole, if you want to get with me, that whole thing. It's got that in the intro, and then finally it moves from the claps to the actual intro of Super Bass, where it's just got that like keyboard or whatever that's in there, and that's still riding over it before Nicki kind of comes in, and it works like money. So I'll send you guys that.
I love that. I definitely want to hear that for sure. That's great.
So those are my 5.
Those are good to hear. I'm sure a lot of the listeners will love to hear those as well. People have definitely mentioned that anytime we talk about music or like songs on here, that they really like hearing about that. So with that being said, and you traveling all the time, we're gonna ask, what is one of your favorite places that you've traveled to? Like a place that you would go back to and go back and keep going back to.
If I could afford it, it would be St. Bart's. I went there for a season for like, they call it Festus. And it's basically, or Festivus, I think is what it's called. It's like the period between like Christmas and New Year's, essentially. It's big on the island. If you don't know where it's at, it's like in the Caribbean. It's next to like St. Martin. It's where like it's like the Hamptons for the Euros, that's where they go, is there. And it's one of the shortest runways in the world as far as how you land in there. It's insane. Like you were literally on the beach and the freaking plane is like coming over your head. Like, I'm like, I don't know if I really want to be sunbathing out there when these things are happening, but it's just gorgeous. It's got a very European influence because it's actually owned, I think, by France, believe it or not. And so there's a lot of like French, Italian kind of vibes to it. So I love going there because I love hearing what the DJs are playing because it's different. Like that was the one that, and I still owe this to you, Drew, but like, what's that one? I Follow Rivers. That's where I first heard that song. And I was like, oh my gosh, they are going ape over this song. And I don't know why. I was like, why is this song? I'm like looking at when it came out and I'm like, this came out way long ago. By the way, that remix that I was needing to send to you it's by the Magician. The Magician remix is the one to play. For that. That's
a great one. Yeah.
But that song is where I really kind of thought like, wow, this is very European, this place. And I love it. I would go back in a heartbeat.
Actually, you're the one that turned me onto a podcast, and I've mentioned it before as the Song Exploder. And there's an episode about that song, and they break it down, and it's such a great episode. She talks about just how they came up with it, and she's not a very good singer, and so many things about it was just so good. So, anyways, sorry to digress, but you turned me onto that podcast, which I'm literally obsessed with.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
I still have yet to listen to that podcast, but Drew's been telling me about that. That's a good one to listen to as well. And the other one is I love too. This the Krista Makes from Less Than Jake. I love all that. So I know Drew does too. That punk, the 90s, 2000s, and they even get a little poppy with it. Like they've had like Sugar Ray, but he pretty much dissects all those songs and talks to each band member about like. It's really cool. So I'm sure that Song Exploder one would be great to listen to.
As DJs, I think you guys should be listening to this because it really breaks down. I think a lot of DJs don't fully understand song structure. And I think knowing a little bit more in depth about song structure and just how songs work is, it's a great background for you guys. So I think you guys should listen to it. I think it's good to have a little bit of that mentality just so you kind of know what you're doing. So, 100%. It's great. Anyways,
we're going to backtrack a little bit. And you're originally from Orange County, California, which is right by where Drew's at. And then in 2006, you moved to Florida and you were already DJing in California. Florida, I'm sorry. Florida.
I was going to
say. What made you move to Florida at the time?
Well, the Cliff Notes version is I wanted to be doing music full time. And I was still just DJing on the weekends, working a day job. Drew can probably attest to this. It's not a cheap living in California. And so trying to cover the nut with DJing nightclubs out there just wasn't doing it for me. So I was like, I got to figure out a way. And through some connections that I had at Pioneer and things like that, I was on a lot of nightlife mailing lists. And so I was on this mailing list for this nightclub out in Florida, and they essentially were taking applications, and I submitted it and thought there's no way they're going to bring a guy from California out there. And sure enough, dude, they did. They like not only brought me out, but like paid for relo. I had a 6-month contract because I was worried. I was like, I know how these California ones roll. If they find somebody cheaper, they're just going to like cut me. And then I'm all the way across the country. So I was like, I need a strong 6-month commitment just to make sure that doesn't happen to me, 2 weeks in. So signed a 6-month contract, and I was basically their resident DJ and then like marketing director. So I helped bring in Flo Rida to the actual club one of the nights. But it was like a spring break
Florida.
Oh, dude, it was like such a spring break spot though. Like I had no idea some of the crazy stuff they'd have. Like they had, it's probably not even politically correct to say nowadays, but it was midget wrestling was one of the nights that they'd have. Like that was a regular. They had like a gentleman's night where it was like a bunch of male strippers that were like B level. Like they're not Vegas style at all. These guys are like, I'm like, God, I cannot believe I'm watching this right now. They're like doing Bed of Roses by Bon Jovi, and they got like this blanket out there, and this guy's like not in shape whatsoever. And I'm like literally the only other guy besides the male strippers out there, and with all these ladies. So it was great at the time, but man, some crazy times at that nightclub. And they would get like 1,500 like on a Wednesday. Like they were open 7 nights a week during spring break. It was just insane. And they were open till 4 a.m. So you're playing
so explain what part of Florida is this?
Okay, so this is the place that's not well known, especially by most people who aren't from the South. It's actually the Panhandle portion. So it's like Panama City. Probably heard about it on like MTV, when they were doing the spring breaks and stuff like that.
Big club there?
Club La Vila?
Avila, yeah.
It's not that one. It's not that one. It's another one that's like, so it's actually not in Panama City. It's in Destin, which not people don't. I just say Panama City because people reference it. It's about an hour from there. The club was called Night Town, which had got the name Fight Town before I got there. So that's why they brought me out there to kind of make it clean. So they wanted like a West Coast sound, and they wanted to kind of like feel a little bit more melodic. And I definitely tried to do that. But boy, playing during the week from like 10 till 4, or actually it was like 9 till 4.
Oh my gosh, that's Vegas hours right there.
And like no breaks, like I'm just playing. So I mean, you talk about getting a real education and programming and not trying to feel stale. Like I'm like, did I play this last night? Like my play count would be insane if I was still doing that gig.
That's crazy. So how many nights a week were you contracted to DJ that?
6 out of 7 during season.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Bro. I don't even know how you did that.
Wow.
Well, so like Monday through Thursday, I would play the 9 till 4 slot, the whole Monday through Thursdays. Fridays, Saturdays, and I had Sundays. No, I had Friday, Saturday, Sundays. I was off Monday. So Friday, Saturdays, I was only playing 12 to 4. So I was only playing the last 4 hours. We had somebody else.
And this was 2006. So were you using records still, or were you on Serato yet?
So this is a hilarious story. I was like one of the first converts to Serato at the time in that area. And I'll never forget, they did an actual live mix show on the radio from the club, not like a remote where like they're just like piping it in every 2 seconds or like, hey, let's just hear, you can hear background. Like they were literally coming out of the mixer into the station with it. And I'll never forget one of the radio jocks was like,
I'm sorry. Are you playing clean or are you?
I had to play clean. I had to submit a list of like what I was planning on playing for that first hour.
Okay.
It was like, so on Fridays, it was only on Fridays. And so I would come in that night just to play the radio segment. And it was great for my career. Cause I mean, like pretty soon I was kind of getting booked all over the place just because of being on the radio, for that one little spot. But I had to give them like the playlist of what I was going to play and they had to approve it, all this kind of stuff. But the radio jock came up to me when he saw that I switched. Cause I was on CDs initially. And it was at that point where like, when like, I don't know if you remember this or not, but like the CDs after like a couple of years, they would just like freeze in the player because they were so old. You needed to reburn them because they'd been used so many times. So I'm like, screw this. I got to go like all computer. So I went to computer and the radio jock came up to me and was like literally making fun of me. He's like, you're not going to believe this, guys. This guy's on a computer, mixing off of a computer. I'm like, well, I'm not actually mixing off a computer, but I'm like, he's like, can you believe this? He's not even using records or CDs anymore. He's like literally playing files off his computer. And I'm like, if he only knew, like a couple years later, like everybody would be on computer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just crazy. So,
wow. No, that's an awesome story. I mean, I remember that time because I was doing a bar at the same thing. And what I had basically burned this CD book, right? So we had records and then I had this CD book where I exactly what you were saying. I was reburning CDs and I was like constantly like, oh, what's the show? And you'd burn it for that night and you'd put stuff on it and you'd play. and it was a nightmare. I remember it would skip or it would jump around, and just trying to find songs like, oh, I think I got that, but that's something that I always attest to every time we talk about DJ Collective or just talking about some of these guys there, is you don't need to own every song known to man. Back in the days, it was like, if you had it, you were lucky, and
Right.
and that, I think that's always my mentality. But that's actually one of the good little transition I want to talk about. The DJ Collective is coming up, and you're one of the main founders of this, and we just, for our listeners that don't know about it, one, this year sold out already, but future reference, something that they should be going to. Maybe you could tell them a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of, well, you were in year one, Drew. Like, that's where I first met you, was year one.
Yeah, I'm very grateful that I was even invited. And I'll be honest, I joke about this now because, one, I don't even know why I was invited, to be completely honest. I don't know why I was invited. And two, this is really sad to admit, but I mostly went because I had never been to Austin before. I was like, oh, I've never been to Austin. That sounds fun. And
your wife came too, right?
Yeah. Well, I just told my wife, I was like, hey, this DJ thing's happening. Let's go do a trip. And then I'm just going to stay and do this DJ thing. Ended up changing my life. I swear to God, I put this on everything. This ended up changing my life. But I didn't understand it at the time. So DJs, you really need to be paying attention to this. And I really feel like you should be going to this. Brian, tell us how you came up with the idea, what inspired it, and, kind of what they could expect at it.
Well, it's definitely morphed over the years. The first one, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. So it was really just a text message between Jason Janai, one of the DMS editors and amazing DJ himself from SE Event Group. He, myself, and Joe Bunn, who's out of Raleigh. The three of us were just kind of texting about, like, I actually, how I came up with it initially was I was on a plane doing my receipts and sending them to my bookkeeper. And I was looking at the travel and all of the trade shows I'd been to that year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I just spent like almost $10,000. Like, it was one of my highest line items next to like gear. And I'm just like, what did I get from that? Like, not much. Like, and it's not that you can't get things from other shows. I just felt like at that point in my career, I had seen and listened to a lot, and there wasn't as many nuggets as I used to get. And that's just natural, right? Because it's like you're growing as a DJ, you're getting better and better, and pretty soon
to interject real quick. This is why I think I didn't take it seriously, is because I felt like I was already doing the most with my career. And I just was like, oh, another DJ thing. I didn't know it was going to change my life, and what you guys had like really prepped. And I mean, this is just giving you guys compliments, because it is really awesome. Like the nuggets you get from it is amazing. So I feel like you guys have like really morphed it and taken it like 4 levels up. I mean, really high. So it's good. Anyways,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good, man. So the first one was in Austin, obviously, and we Jason and I and Joe just thought of like, what 12 people can we bring to this place that would fit in this Airbnb that we rented? And Jason's like, hey, this guy Drew, you got to invite this dude. He's actually a really, I'm like, I never heard of this guy. I'm like, he's like, yeah, you got to know him. And he's like, he's from Cali. He's going to be cool. And I was like, okay, he's from Cali. All right, let me bring him in. So he came out, and you knew a couple of guys, Jeff and Chris, I think, were 2 people.
And Alex.
And Alex Nepa, yeah. So that one was just really intimate, and it went so well that we like, hey, let's do it again next year. Everybody was in again, and we said, let's do it somewhere else. Let's just like go to another city we hadn't been to. So we went to Tampa. We extended the guest list to like 40 people, and it sold out again. Like all 40 people were like done in. And so we're wait, frick.
I'm sorry. A little bit more. I want to get a little bit more in depth. Where does the background, like you were texting them and you were spending the money on it, but you had a little bit more. There was something involved too, right? Was it Engage that kind of tipped you off?
Yeah, I mean, that was because I had just started going to the Engage at that time, and I realized like, holy cow, this is a whole nother level of not just education, but people that you're meeting. Like, it was like Engage is so different than any other show, if you will, in that it's not just about the learning, it's also about relationship building. And I call that not networking either. It's like really is relationship building, like where you're actually booking business and collaborating, and like people that are competitors, you're actually working with them. And I was like, man, that would be so cool to see that kind of come out of this. And so sure enough, man, like that was kind of the gist, was like, let's come up with something that's really 301 level. I don't know if this is the best of the best, but like, let's just try to bring the best people that we know that can bring this kind of like energy, that want to push forward, and like bring in some planners, some different people. And sure enough, man, like that's kind of how the genesis of it, and it really kind of grew it from there. So go ahead.
As somebody who hasn't been to the collective yet, and it's just it's one thing that I want to go to. It didn't work out for me this year, but one of the things I really wanted to say, and that I think this is a big compliment, is I've seen and I've known Drew since the first collective, and other guys that have gone to the collective as well. One of the biggest compliments I think I could give is those guys that have gone, watching their businesses transform on social media and seeing what they've done to seeing where they're at now is amazing, the difference. And
yeah,
I think that what Drew's saying, you guys, if anybody that is serious within their career of DJing, this is something that it could be such a huge benefit. I don't even know, I know a lot of it's mobile and private, but there's so much to be gained from this. And this goes back to what we were talking about last week with Scooter a little bit, is there are things that private event DJs can learn from club DJs, but there are things club DJs can learn from private event guys as well. And I'm telling you, watching people's businesses transform that have gone to the collective, and just being around a like-minded group of individuals and what that has done, and again, just seeing it is crazy. And how it's evolved. Everybody's stepping up their game because of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. And to your point about the club DJ thing too, like there wasn't really a place for club DJs to go that were doing like high level club work, like working stuff. Not like, I'm not talking like Tiesto level, but like, the working guy that is also doing some private event stuff. So we wanted that to be part of it. And so having like Scooter and Drew there, it was really cool. Last year, Scooter did like a whole production workshop, which people like minds were blown on how to, do some of the edits, not exactly like him, but just some of the resources and tools that he was willing to give. And there's just this ethos of just like sharing that's there. No one's holding their cards in, which is kind of cool. Usually you see a lot of DJs like, I'm keeping this record, or I'm keeping this secret from everybody. And you realize that like at the end of the day, like if someone really wanted to grab that, they would anyway. And it's like, it's how you play it. It's how you perform that makes this all different. So them having my library wouldn't make much of a difference, because they're not going to play it the same way, so that spirit of collaboration and wanting to share is kind of where it's at. And so now we're in our 4th year, and we had to cap it at 100 this year because of just feeling like the space wasn't really big enough. And I think there's a little bit of like being able to find these boutique little style hotels is kind of cool, because it's like you have the run of the place. You don't feel like you're in this big old casino. And we're all trying to find like these really like, I don't know, just places that have a cool vibe, that aren't like your box Hiltons or Marriott's or whatever. So we've been finding spots that have a really cool like feel to it. Would you agree, Drew? Like the spots that are kind of
100%. I mean, I can't speak highly enough about this. It is one of the things I look forward to every year. So maybe you got, since it is sold out this year, the stuff you can give away. Talk about that. And I don't know if I don't think next year's has been decided yet, but at least tell them about the time they should start looking to book. And so basically, yeah, like I said, give the stuff that you can give away and when they should be looking to book.
Well, I'll just do it from a real high level and rush through it real quickly so we can get on other things too, because I know you got a lot on there. But I guess the biggest thing is, and I'll drop a little bomb here for y'all who are on this podcast. So tonight, which actually I think this will probably get released later in the week, but By the time you listen to this, we are actually doing a virtual pass, which isn't like to the whole show. So I don't want to give that kind of feel, but we're calling it DJC on demand. We always have to put our own little spin on it. We didn't want to do a virtual show because it was like everybody does a virtual show. So what's DJC on demand? We kind of like thought, let's do like a Netflix version of this. So there is a live stream component. So you'll be able to see like the general sessions, which that's what makes this kind of unique too, is that every day is a different style of learning. So a lot of people just do from the stage down, which we will have that component, and that's day 1 and day 3. So that's going to be live, like as if you're at the show. Day 2 is going to be like interviews with people. So we've got like Scooter on deck. We got Warren on deck. So people like that you like to listen to, just quick 20-minute interviews. And then we are going to show one of the parties, which is something that we came up with called the Miracle Mashup Show, which actually Drew is going to be a part of. And he was part of last year. It was insane. Last year was I always say last year, 2 years ago, it was insane.
Right.
It's where we have like this Wheel of Fortune wheel. And we just spin it, and like whatever acapella, whatever instrumental it lands on, the DJ has like 30 seconds to put it together. And Drew came up with some crazy stuff with that, and it's just fun to see creativity and DJing happen. So that is going to be available on our website. So if you want to experience it for like, obviously it's going to be a cheaper price than going to the conference normally. So it's $495. That's $495. But what makes it so unique, beyond just getting the live stream, if you can be there for that, you actually get access to it for the full year, which means that if you can't watch it during the live stream, maybe you're already booked. I mean, we're releasing it today about 2 weeks before. Some people may already be busy. Don't worry about it. You can actually view it at any time on a password protected part of our website and have access to it for a full year. And what we're trying to do is bring in speakers that are going to speak from outside the industry, a lot of them. So to help your business, I feel like why copy and paste from people who are already in it? Like, let's go from outside of our industry, see people who are super successful, and try to see how we can morph our business that way. So again, that'll be kind of on DJC on demand, which is getting released later this afternoon. And by the time you watch this, you'll be able to get into it. So kind of a new thing.
That's huge. Exclusive right there.
Yeah.
You're the first person I'm telling.
So good. I love it. That is amazing. Honestly, DJs, if you can't make it, seriously sign up for that. I can't recommend it enough. It changed my life. Honestly, it's how I met Brian. It's how I'm even traveling and doing the majority of the stuff I'm doing right now. So DJs, it's super important to expand your horizons and, always looking to grow. So yeah, big
Definitely.
nugget right there.
We're going to kind of shift to another question real quick. There's a lot of guys that DJ, and I know that you've done some multi-op stuff and you book other DJs and have booked other DJs. When doing or running a multi-op, how do you get comfortable booking other DJs? And then also, what are qualities that you would look for in hiring a DJ?
So during COVID, I kind of had to change my model, honestly. I'd always taken a page out of Mike Walter's book. Mike Walter, if you're not familiar with him, he's out of New Jersey as well, kind of like the go-to mobile DJ multi-op guy. I mean, he's been around.
PHDJ podcast with Joe Bunn.
Yeah.
All right.
So he's a big proponent of training from the ground up. And while I do think there's definitely some merits to that, managing it from remotely like I am, because our multi-op is primarily based in Florida. I couldn't train these guys because it was during COVID. I'm like, I don't want to risk this. I got a baby at home. Like, I just can't be doing this. So I'm like, how else am I going to make this work? So I was like, I'm going to change this to like an agency approach and find people who are already like really highly skilled, and make a proposition to these planners that like, yes, I know you've never spent this much for a DJ before outside of myself, but like, trust me, they're going to be at a level that you're just not going to find locally. It's just not there. And so Drew was one of the first guys I called. I was like, listen, I'm trying to figure this out. I don't know if this is going to work. I know Callie's like locked down. I was like, would you be willing to travel to do this? Let's see if this works out. And he's like, yeah, I'll give it a try. And so,
actually, what I like to tell people is I put up a "will work for food" sign, and Brian was like, "Oh, here you go," and it was a golden ticket. So yes, yeah, it was a blessing, honestly, from sitting at home. Yes.
So I just made this work. I transitioned my business to be more of a booking agency. So to answer your question directly, I'm looking for somebody who has like great experience, because I always say this about myself as I'm DJing, and I don't know if we'll get into it later, but just like some of the stories is, you got to be like a fireman. You're always dealing with emergencies, and more metaphorically speaking, that's how I refer to myself. Not even as a DJ. I'm a fireman putting out fires. I just happen to also be able to play music too. So somebody who can think quick on their feet, like if a mic's not working, if like a speaker goes down, can the DJ have the experience to be able to like figure it out where I don't have to like, hey, let me call Brian real quick and see if he can walk me through like what to do next, and I hate to say it, but a couple times it's happened to Drew out there where like, hey, something didn't work or whatever. He's like, bro, I got this. Don't even worry about it. I got it figured out. And like, it's a blessing to have guys like him that mix as well as they do anyway and program so well, but then to also be able to be problem solvers. So I'm always looking for problem solvers and great talented DJs as well.
Well, I will say, I know we're short on time. You got to bounce, but great transition there, because your weekend, if you're okay to talk about it, was very challenging, and I think problem solving is explaining this weekend right here, if you can.
Yeah, totally. So I've been kind of thinking about this for a long time in the last couple of weeks. I feel like I've had more tech challenges than I've ever had before, and not with necessarily my own gear, although there has been some of that, but I always bring my backups. I'm always well prepared. But I was thinking along the lines of like, why is the DJ is always the guy or lady who has to think of every backup known to man for the entire event? Like, why are we the ones that at what point do we cut that off? Like, do I have to bring extra meat and fish, for the cook? Do I need to bring some extra forks? What do I need to keep in my bag, so to speak, to like take care of these people?
Well, to explain it, I think we are the redheaded stepchild when no one wants us to do with us, right? Until they need us. And then it's like,
right,
make magic happen. You're like, oh dude, I'm trying my hardest. I don't know what exactly what you're saying. I don't know what more I could bring to the table. It's
and I just
crazy.
feel like we're all professionals. So like, why isn't everybody just responsible? Stay in your lane, do what you do well, have your backups, and then we're all good. But it's inevitably, like to your point, we're the redheaded stepchild, but yet when it's a crunch time emergency, we're always the ones on the mic having to do all this stuff. And it's like, we're the ones that they look to. So a couple of weeks ago, or actually it's a month or so ago, I dealt with a situation where I was on this, field where they brought out a power supply thing. And they're like, yeah, a couple of the plugs don't really work. And I'm like, well, that would have been great information to have yesterday before like I came all the way out here. And sure enough, dude, it blew like 6 different times. And it was because it just wasn't powerful enough, and I'm just like, how do you do this? And he's like, well, it's got to be your gear. You must have bad cable. I'm like, bro, these are like brand new cables. There's no way. Like, no way. I just used this yesterday. Like, it is definitely your stuff. Like, I don't know how long you're stretching this from, but it's like not good enough. So that was my first like power problem where I had it happen multiple times. I've had someone pull a cable out once before. But to that point, I'm like, you're the venue. You're supposed to take care of electricity. Unless you want me to, then put me on the hook for it. But 90% of the time, I'm not responsible for their electricity. So fast forward this weekend, I'm in this place in Philly. It's like this old, like they call it the Masonic temple. So it's definitely something religious. I don't know what religion it is exactly, but stained glass windows. That's all you got to know. And this place is built like long ago, like it's Philly, right? So it's downtown. The building is literally its own block. That's how large this building is. So they got me down there. The guy goes, hey, with the power. And I talked to him previously. He's like, yeah, we've had DJs here all the time. No big deal. Okay, great. So I get down there and I'm just like, it's 125, maybe 130 people. So I've got like 2 Evolve 50s I'm rolling with, and then S9 mixer, 2 CDJs. So not pulling a ton, and a wireless mic, right? Literally less than like 15
no
amps,
power.
Maybe.
That's one plug.
Right.
Tops.
So the guy's like, hey, this place wasn't built when there was like for electricity and for gear that you guys use. And I'm like, again, great information when we had this conversation earlier this week. You should have been on the call. And the guy's like, oh, it'll be fine. So I'm like, okay. So I test everything. I get there super early too. Like I'm not going on till 8. I'm there at noon. Like I'm set up, ready to go, testing it at 2:00. Golden. Everything works. So we are playing. And this is a weird party too. It was like they didn't really want the formalities, so we did like first dance, and this was awesome. Their grand entrance song into their first dance was I Melt With You. You know, that was their first dance song that they went with, which I thought was awesome. It's like upbeat, like they just got out there and they're like, we don't want to dance for more than 20 seconds by ourselves. We want everybody on the dance floor. So I was
this
like,
is the original,
sure.
real quick.
The original.
It's the original.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
There's a really
so
good there's a really good Jason Mraz. It was on the 51st Dates. It's all reggae. Is remix of it. Anyways, I play it on all the time for
I might have made an edit to that on CMS.
Okay. So
shout out our sponsor, directmusicservice.com.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm playing it, you know, everybody's out there. And then as soon as I finish, they're like, hey, we just want this to be a cocktail party. There's not enough tables for everybody to sit in. We want people dancing. So I'm just creating a vibe. It's like, you know, stations, everything like that. I'm about like maybe 30 minutes in and, you know, finally start to build a little bit of a dance floor where we're just like moving upwards, you know, where everybody's out there. And then I see a flicker and the entire building goes dark. And then for about 10 seconds, the entire building dark. And then boom, floodlights turn on, like emergency lights. And I'm like, okay, this can't be just me. This has got to be like everything, right? So I'm like, what's happening? So I plug into another plug. I'm like, no plug's working. So I'm like, okay, let me go find the owner of the building or whoever's around. And the planner doesn't know what to do. And so they're like, well, it's supposed to trip to our backup circuits, which are on another, you know, whatever, but it didn't transfer over. I'm like, well, how often does this happen? Not very often. I'm like, okay, whatever. So we're waiting. There's nothing I can do. Like literally, I'm like, okay, do I need to go to Home Depot? It's now like almost 9 o'clock at night. I don't think they're going to be open. And I'm checking all these different places to see who has generators and nothing's open. So I'm like, the engineers are downstairs in the basement trying to like get it to switch over to the next thing. And I'm like, oh my God.
And it's I'm bright like, because all the floodlights are on, right? Like,
so
it's
totally
bright.
Totally. So I'm feeling terrible because it looks like it's my fault, right? So they bring out this brick that's like a power strip that's meant for computers to like shut down safely. You ever seen those where like it's got like a little bit of a battery backup life? They found it in the closet. It had like 2 minutes of battery. I didn't know this. So I plug everything in. Power comes back on for my stuff. So I was like, what song can I play that will like make sense? So I was like, I'm going to play Rihanna's Don't Stop the Music. So I play that, right? So everyone's like, oh, okay, great. You know, a minute and a half later, it dies. We're back to nothing. God. So I'm like, oh my God. So then they find another one that they found in another closet that allegedly is charged, but it's small. And I'm like, I don't think this is going to work. Like, I think this is too much juice for us to be plugging through this. I'm like, I got 2 speakers. I'm turning the subs down on those Evolves to like -3 just to like get something out of them. Yeah. And I'm like, what song can I play? I'm like, I'm going to do One More Time by Daft Punk and see if they understand what's happening here. So I play One More Time. 30 seconds in, the thing just can't take it anymore, and it just powers down. So now, this is all within the first hour. So then, what ends up happening is, I'm like, what's happening, guys? Like, what are we going to do? And they're like, it's not going to happen. Like, we're waiting for the engineers. It could take an hour. And I'm like, we only have this place till midnight, and it's like 10 o'clock right now. I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. So, so then they come out. So the wedding party's like, the bridesmaids are like, let's just sing a cappella. Like, can you sing? I'm like, no, you don't want me to sing. Like, I'm like,
I love that was even the thought. They were like, you know what? You're a singer now.
You don't want DJ. You're a singer. Go.
Right? So they start singing Can't Stop the Feeling, or try to anyways. And I'm like, this is atrocious. And they're like, God, dun, 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 and they're just like stomping, and like they don't know all the lyrics either, right? So they're like, know the chorus, and that's pretty much anyone knows these days, which was another thing. I was like, if this was like 10 years ago, any other song, they probably know everything, but people's like ADD and how quick songs move, they only know the choruses. So this was never going to work long term, right? So they eventually stop like after the first quarter, and then they're like, let's bring out chairs. We'll do, musical chairs. And I'm like, yeah, but like, how are you going to like know when to stop? Like, there's no music to play. They're like, and I had some Bluetooth speakers in my bag. I'm like, I can at least pull those out and I'll play. But I mean, in the overall scheme of this huge ass room, that's like the whole block. I'm like, these things are not gonna work. So I'm putting
amazing.
it. So I put them
So
like right
amazing.
next, and I put it stacked 2 chairs together, so I have it kind of a high, for people to at least hear, and like it worked for about 20 seconds. Everyone's trying to listen to it, but other people are talking, so like it had no chance. So like that dies. So then people are like saying goodbye. It's now we're getting close to almost midnight now. So it's been almost 3 hours of no power. And it's getting hot in there. It's like, a sweat box. There's at least alcohol. So there was that. And then finally the power turned back on around 11:50. And I'm like, we got 10 minutes. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I got to go longer. I can't do that for these people. Like, this is terrible. So the building's like, yeah, we'll go an extra hour. I'm like, that's the least you guys can do. So we went an extra hour. About 30 minutes in, the bride's like, I'm kind of done. Like like we had a good ride, so but the great news was I could slam them with all the hits, like in 30 minutes. And it felt, great for the 30 minutes they were out there. But to the point, I just go, man, like I didn't feel bad in a sense. I mean, for myself, because I'm like, my stuff was together. I have backup players. I have backup, everything, backup mics. I'm like, the power is not my problem. Like, yes, it's a reflection on us, but like, come on, guys, like we all got to carry our weight, So anyways, that was my story.
I don't think it is a reflection on you at all. I don't know how you would really solve that. I've had that happen to me in the past, and I have a battery speaker that I bring with me only for cocktail, because I feel cocktail's gotten so bad. But maybe you could have brought that out, but I don't know. At that
I'm
point,
still impressed. They thought you were going to be a singer. That is amazing. That is amazing. Hey, you're a singer now. What can you sing?
Right.
They
wanted
you
your
to be
boat.
like,
You guys want to go to nursery rhymes
for the musical chairs. Like, okay, I stopped.
I kept thinking of that scene. I don't remember what movie it was, but where like they were. Oh, it was like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I don't know if you remember that movie or not. But
Yeah,
I love that movie.
We start singing the Flintstones on the bus, and I was like, should we go Flintstones? Like, will they remember this stuff? I don't know. Like, let's just go Flintstones and just see if they can get a big old thing going. So it was just so classic. And I texted Drew. I was like, dude, this is straight out of like the mobile DJ playbook right here. Just like, let's get real interactive. Because, that's the other thing too. I'll close that story with saying this is like, I've spent the last like 10 years just really refining my craft as far as the mixing and just like focusing 110%. I'm like, I don't want the gigs where I have to be the entertainer guy to do like all the interactive stuff. Can I do it? Absolutely. In a pinch, would I do it? Absolutely. But like, I don't want to get those kind of gigs. Like I'm just not.
You're not the clown.
It's not my thing.
You don't.
No.
You don't want to be a clown. Yeah.
No,
You're not.
I don't want to be on the tricycle. You know what I mean?
You don't want to. You want to do the YMCA. You want to dress everybody up as the YMCA
while on stilts. Not only does he DJ, he DJs on stilts while juggling.
Exactly, man.
Well, we know you got to go, and we're so grateful that you were able to jump on this call for us. We're definitely going to have Brian back on. He's going to be doing a bunch of just travel hacks and next level little tips and tricks. He's going to be a regular on the show, so we're grateful. Any last things you want to leave us with? Websites, podcast, links, anything?
Well, first, I have to just say props to you guys. I think you guys are doing something super fresh. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm a podcast junkie, and when I see a new episode ping in from you guys, it didn't take me long. I was like, I got to be listening to this every week. This is really, really good stuff. And especially when you guys talk music, I'm a music guy too. So like, edits you're using, just the way that songs are hitting or not, like I love all of that stuff. And so if DJs, keep listening, because this is a fantastic podcast no matter where you are in your career. So I love it. Just want to keep you guys going with it, and love that song, dude. The intro song, holy cow, like incredible. That was incredible.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it on the Phrase episode, but how that came about is, and you guys haven't seen the pics yet, but me and Fuse, I was in Cincinnati last weekend, and we're basically wearing tuxedo shirts. And we walk out of Fuse's building, and this old lady goes, you guys clean up nicely. And so that's where the 100% the tagline comes from. Shout out old lady in Fuse's complex, because she gave the tagline for us.
I would have never thought wearing a tuxedo t-shirt would get the you clean up nicely comment, but it was perfect because here we are with a whole theme song about it.
So good, dude. So good.
So leave us with some links and what we could expect in the future.
Yeah. So best place to catch me is on Instagram, DJ Brian with an I, B official. So DJ Brian B official. And then the podcast, I'm a little behind on posting content, so I need to get back on it. I've got like about 20 episodes banked. I just need to go and edit them. So they'll be dropping all before the end of the year, but that's the Travel DJ blend. And yeah, thanks guys for having me, man. I appreciate it, and keep doing you.
Hey,
Thanks.
that podcast, DJs, if you're not listening, honestly, I listen to every single episode. Brian is a genius. He is a hustler. Yeah, be listening to it. He has tons and tons and tons of tips and tricks. So be listening to that. Thank you, Brian.
Guys.
We really appreciate
catch up with
it.
you.
All right,
Sounds good.
We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Later.
All right. So that was Brian B. And we just want to say, man, it's great to have him on here. It's when somebody of his caliber is willing to share a story such as the power going out and being comfortable and talking with that and sharing those stories, I think it's so awesome because, you know, like stuff happens when you're at events and you're DJing, and you know, like he was saying, when he looks for DJs anymore, he just looks for experience, and you can't teach experience. And then hearing stories like that, it normalizes like him, and it normalizes what we do. And like, not everything's perfect always. And, you know, sometimes it's
Instagram.
nice to hear it. Yeah.
We're not Instagram models where everything is perfect and everything's been refiltered and photoshopped. You know, life happens, and you guys, you know, we try and talk about real life. You know, Fuse brought up something a couple of episodes ago where, you know, people just didn't dance, and it is life. It's part of the thing. You have to just know how to evolve, know how you're going to go with the flow, and, you know, just be experienced and be calm and cool and collected.
Yeah. And like, while we're kind of on this topic real quick, I'm just going to give a little quick rant, something that kind of has been driving me nuts lately. Like, one of the things that drives me nuts is the Instagram and the cell phones at the party so much, because I was DJing Friday and it's Halloween, and we didn't even get to talk about our weekends yet. So maybe we could talk about our weekends in a second. I was at the bar Friday, and it was rainy here. So it was just an okay night. It wasn't like crazy slammed, but it was still busy and people were having a good time. And there's a group of girls, and anytime the cell phone came out, you know, they were like, woo, woo, best night ever. And then the cell phone would go away, and they were just like nothing, you know? And I'm like, wait, why can't you just be that excited to party all the time? Like all the time. And then it's like almost to the point where I feel where it's like, the party looks cooler on Instagram than it is in real life. And it's like, you're making like this fake persona of what you think has to be fun because you don't know how to have fun.
So, you know, I actually have a great story for you to right on this topic. As one of my close friends, Megan, she's actually not on Instagram at all, and she catered a party recently, and she was tripping out because it was a younger party, and she was like going, why do they keep just filming it and acting like it's the greatest thing that ever happened? There's 5 people there, and they're trying to get the most creative shot known to man of, you know, the food or them dancing or whatever. And she couldn't wrap her head around it. It was it is funny. I mean, live in the moment. I don't know, being us old cats.
Yeah, the living in the moment thing is like, I just feel like people, it's almost like people don't know how to have fun just on their own. Like, and you and I say this all the time when we're just hanging out. Like, when we go out, it's like, sure, we want to go out to like the busy bar and see DJs play and have fun. But like, I can go to the bar that's got nobody in it as long as I'm with my couple friends and have just as good of a time, you know, just hanging out and being there. So for anybody that's listening that isn't a DJ, just learn to let go sometimes. Put the phone away. And I'm guilty of having the phone out, but like I'm not sitting there, you know, acting like it's lit on the phone when it's not lit at all. Or maybe I shouldn't even word it as that, is I'm not having fun, but I'm trying to make other people think that I am. So,
bruh, it's lit, bruh.
yeah. Dude, you know what else we should talk about? That Facebook comment I left that guy on Saturday while we were on the show.
Yeah,
He was trying to dog me for being from Ohio. Like that because I'm from Ohio that I am a terrible DJ and I don't know what I'm talking about. I want to be like, bro, the internet is everywhere. And these days we all DJ the same. Well, maybe you don't, because if you think that, then you probably suck. But
actually, to recap real quick, Fuse's comment is the guy was sad about old tech. So old rain boxes, what's happening with the old rain boxes is, you know, Rain has basically been bought out by In Music, and they're just not updating those boxes. You know, it was a good run. It was fun while it lasted. So it's time to move on to new tech. And, you know, that always comes back to updating your gear, knowing how to use your gear, knowing all that stuff. And I think,
yeah, I was trying to really just explain to the guy, like, hey, man, like the SL3 box came out in 2009 and they're really kind of not functional anymore. Being somebody who invested $1,000 into an SL4 box, which is completely useless at this point. And my thing is, I get that we all play at these bars, and we have played at bars where, you know, they don't want to invest in the gear and they don't want to invest in anything. Actually, they just want to create a bar, open it, and milk as much money out of it as possible. But, you know, places, venues, bars, management, everybody has to understand that, you know, if you're the party, if they're investing in you to be and throw the party, then they got to invest in the car, you know, the vessel that is helping throw. I always explain, you know, the bar as like a car and the DJ is like the motor. And like, you know, it needs a tune-up every once in a while. It just doesn't run for 300,000 miles and you don't do anything. And, you know, you got to change some tires on the car and all that. But
can you imagine a venue buys something? Let's just even take it back a little bit, right? Tech has actually grown, right? So we're able to use new tech and this, and you still use rain boxes. It is what it is. But imagine 10 years prior to that, and they never updated to even having rain boxes. And you're basically going, what do you mean you can't use the CDJs? That's a rack mount CDJ with no wheels on it? No more. That's exactly the point you're at. It doesn't work anymore. Period. End of story. We need you to buy something else. That's it. I'm not buying another laptop. Venues, you have to pressure the venue, or you could pay for it and you can tell them they could work it off. Either way, you got to start evolving and getting into it. It's not going to fix itself, you know.
And then you're trying to make your computer work around old technology. You're having to download older versions of Serato or downloading an older operating system, and you're just doing yourself a disservice by trying to do that, by, you know, trying to use old technology in that sense. Because
I actually have a go ahead. No, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say oh, we just want to talk over each other. Sorry, who was it that messaged us that was like, all they want to do is talk over each other? But go ahead, Drew. You were gonna say.
No, I have a venue. I'm just touching on that. Is a venue that I play at, and the left CDJ doesn't work. It doesn't at all. So I have to do instant doubles, and they're gonna have a big headlining DJ come through, and I said, guys, you have to get this fixed. If he shows up and that CDJ doesn't work, he's going to walk out of this building. Period. End of story. He's not going to try and make it work. He doesn't care enough. And they were looking at me like I was crazy. And I'm like, dude, if you're paying that much for him, one, just don't book him and buy a new fucking CDJ, or or get a new CDJ anyways and book him. Like, obviously you're making the money to bring dude in because I know he's not cheap. So
Yeah.
yes, they have the money and they will pay for it. You just have to lean on him a little bit.
Yeah, and you got to have a backup, and you got to have options. If you're the guy that's sitting there playing at the spot, and they're basically like, "Well, I don't know what to tell you." Well, if you don't have options, then again, you're doing yourself a little bit of a disservice too. Having options as a DJ, having things to fall back on is all something you need. And I don't know. I'm fortunate right now who I work for and where I play. If there's a problem, I just tell him and he gets it fixed, and it's great to have that because I've been in the situation before where I've been playing for spots where they don't want to upgrade any gear or buy any new gear, and I've just had to hound them and hound them and hound them and hound them to finally they just got annoyed of me asking for it. That's why they bought it, because I'm like, hey, we need this, and that's what it was. It wasn't the fact that they even needed the gears; they were tired of me hearing me bitch about it. So
the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So let's end this podcast by talking about some of the big songs we had. So all of our listeners love that so much. It was Halloween weekend. I know I did 5 events this weekend. It was bonkers. Fuse, what were some of your big tracks? I'm guessing Dead Man's Party, Monster Mash was probably the biggest one of the night, or what?
Me, we think the same, and it's like nobody wants to hear the Halloween music at the party. That's what we
wants
say.
to hear
And
Halloween.
we should have talked about that on an earlier episode now that Halloween has come and gone. But remember this for next year. Nobody wants to hear old ass Monster Mash at the party. They're not going to be like, yes, I've been waiting all year to hear the Monster Mash while I'm slamming shots of tequila, while taking videos on my phone, acting like this is so fun right now.
It was a graveyard smash.
But what I will say is Phrase made a dope edit of the Craze Cherish Do It To It that I played. And honestly, I've been kind of sleeping on that song a little bit because, if anybody listens, they've definitely heard me say that I play pretty like right down the middle right now, and I'm not taking much chances. But when I played that song Friday with the little Squid Game intro that he made, and then it came in, dude, that song got like a pop, and I was like, whoa, I did not expect that. And I'm super guilty of listening to songs on my computer and then like not really playing them out because I just don't think they like have the punch. And of course, that's one that I was just sleeping on. I admit I've been sleeping on that track. And when I played it out for the first time, I was like, damn, this is cool. And it worked. So that's one definitely off the top of my head.
So,
that
quick question. Would you still, I just finished Squid Game this weekend, and dude, that one of my favorite shows to date. I loved every minute of that show. Would you still play that? Is that like been allocated to only Halloween, or would you still play that?
I've got to admit, I'm probably not going to play the Squid Game intro other than like Halloween. I don't know. I don't know. I'm weird.
I think it's still work, dude.
I think it can still work.
I don't even really think I wouldn't even put that as a Halloween. It's scary, but I wouldn't put it as Halloween at all.
Yeah, I think the show's hot right now, so I think it would work. And I wouldn't like if I was out and I heard somebody doing it, I wouldn't like discredit them because like they're playing a Squid Game while like that'd be like playing something like Game of Thrones while Game of Thrones was hot, or I don't know. I didn't play anything Game of Thrones, but I'm just saying, maybe if you had like a Game of Thrones version of a song that you liked, don't know if any of those exist, but whatever.
So that was that one. What else was big? You had a couple events this weekend. Some clubs, some bars. I'm looking at my Serato as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna open up my history here real quick and see what we got.
Well, while you're looking, I played at Club Heat last night. I did the middle slot, so I was trying to play it safe, but at the same time go in. And let's see. I don't even know why I'm laughing about this, but I think one of my biggest songs tonight was Eminem "Lose Yourself."
Oh, I
Was
played
just
that both nights this
was
weekend too.
massive. It was so big. I mean, I could have turned the whole song off. They were singing along at every word. It was so big. Um, um, let's see. Scooter did an amazing Alicia Keys "No One" remix, and it's using the what drums is that? Would you say? You
Oh,
know?
it's is it like the Kevin Little?
No, it's
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Lumity.
yeah. Lumity, yeah. Dude, that remix, it's so unexpected, I think, and everyone sings along. So shout out Scooter on that one. That was really big for me last night. Again, middle slot. So, use 11 to 12:30. Um,
I feel like, I mean, I didn't play really anything that out of the box. I feel like this weekend, obviously, like the only Halloween song that I really play that I don't play any other night of the year is Thriller. I think we could probably both agree that we
the
play
only
Thriller.
Halloween song,
Yeah,
period. Stop
and
playing other. There's nothing else you need to play. How
play it at
Thriller is it.
11:55 because it's close to midnight.
So I did a wedding on Saturday, and my big it was an interesting wedding in that a lot of old people and young people. So I was trying to find that middle ground was a little bit of a challenge. But I would say for me, my biggest set DJs. I don't know how to tell you this, but the pop punk, it was Mr. Brightside, Blink 182, Fall Out Boy, Ocean Avenue into Good Charlotte Anthem. That entire set was hands down. I mean, and you have to play it at the right time. You're not opening up the dance floor with it, but that set later on in the night to close it out was big. And what I would say, how I knew that set would go big was the best man, which was the groom's brother, was talking in his speech about how the groom used to be in basically a Blink 182 cover band. It was his big thing. And DJs, take notes. You have to be taking notes during these speeches. That was so big for me. I was like, okay, Blink 182 set. I did 3 back-to-back Blinks, and they were just, the groom was on the dance floor just losing it, and it made the whole party go even more crazy. So just paying attention during those speeches, the toasts was really big for me. So,
And I think you could say, like, with even DJing and watching the room, like if you are playing a song and they react, let's say back to like what Brian was saying, he played Semi-Charmed Kind of Life. Like, chances are if the room pops to that song, they're probably going to pop to some of those other, alt rock songs from that time, like Blink 182 and the Killers and stuff like that. So it's being aware of like, oh, this song was made in that kind of time, and if they kind of like that, they're probably going to like this. And you can do it with hip hop, you can do it with pop music, you can do it with house music, you could do it with anything. Like, I've played parties. My friend throws a party here called Sunshine Sessions, and it's mainly like a soulful house, tech house kind of party, and he was like adamant, like, no, just play whatever you want. So I made it when I went and played that party. I made a set of like stuff that I wanted to play. And by about the first 5 songs in, I was like, all right, this is not what's going to work. So I played another song, and it was more of like a Jack and House kind of remix, and it went off. And I was like, all right, well, I'll just play more of this kind of stuff. And I did. And for that, the rest of that hour set, it was great. And it's just telling of, you know, you got to watch the room and you got to watch for the reactions more so than just sitting there picking songs. You know, you got to think like, if this is what's happening to that song, it's going to happen for this one and this one. And I think those are, that's good advice to any new DJ. That's, you know, it's not just the reaction you're paying attention to, like you're paying attention to the reaction of why.
Well, look, we all like music, right? So just going in and going, hey, play that funky music, white boy, is quote unquote wedding classic. You don't have to play that song to have everybody pop off. You should know yourself as a musician or just a fan of music. I never want to hear that song again in life. If I'm on the dance floor because I'm at a wedding, I still never need to hear that song ever again in my life, in lifetime. It's always going to get skipped. So just, you know, take yourself into consideration. What do you want to hear? Don't be absurd about it, but you know, what do you want to hear? What's that middle road? What song that not overplayed, not played out, not just because it's at this specific thing, but what could you play to really, you know, heighten the crowd and, you know, whatnot. So,
oh man, it kind of just makes me think of when we were at Expo and we were at the club before. Well, we were at the Dare in Atlantic City, and I just want to give him a shout out because I was am so amazed by what he played. And there was an opening DJ, and I don't really know who it was, and he was like, you could tell that he was a little struggling playing to a room full of DJs, and then Aiden Scott went on and crushed that set. I mean,
bro,
he was like, he was like, I don't consider myself a tastemaker. And I was like, you are though, because he's gotten to the point where he's like, I like all this and it's cool and it's danceable. And I know it's danceable because I play it and I watch people dance to it. And it was amazing. He played like a lot of his like funked stuff that he's been doing. And that set was one of the best. Like, if a DJ was opening for me and that's how they played, I would be like, dude, just keep playing because what you're doing is so awesome. Like, and it was great. And I think
we're sitting with like 5 different DJs, and I think all of us we're not paying attention. We're like most people, when you're at a bar, you're talking, you're just hanging out with other people. Every time the opening DJ before him, we just kept going like, what the fuck is dude playing? This doesn't even make sense right now. And then Aiden came on, and just the flow and the vibe and the energy was, dude, I actually couldn't tell you one song he played.
Yeah.
The energy and the vibe was so, it pushed the parties. So anyways, shout out Aiden Scott. We'll have to have Aiden on here.
Yeah, definitely have to have him on here. And soon we're gonna have Phrase on so he can talk to us about, you know, how he made the Squid Game edit and how he did the thought process.
Actually, let's replay the new theme song. You guys, Phrase crushed this so much. I'm obsessed with it. I hope you guys like it. I think it will definitely make you want to listen to the show or not. One of the two.
Yeah.
But you pick.
I mean, it just sounds, you nailed it.
Drew and Fuse Show, they clean up nicely. It's the Drew and Fuse Show, the Drew and Fuse Show, the Drew and Fuse Show. Yeah, they clean up nicely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There it is. There you have it.
We got a video coming out here. Me and Fuse took a ton of amazing pictures in downtown Cincinnati. Let's shout our boy out.
Oh yeah,
photo shoot.
Chris from Twin Spires Photography. He does tons of photography, and Danny, the guy I work for at the bar at the club, he uses them for a lot of different events and stuff. And but Chris shoots for like all the big venues here too. So like when Foo Fighters were in town, you know, he shot Foo Fighters and the Killers and Kesha, and you know, all these people are posting his pictures. It's pretty cool. But
Yeah,
who else we got? We got a videographer coming on the show. We have let's see who else. We got Phrase coming on. We have Pre-owned Joni coming on. With you guys, if you guys don't know him, you are missing out, because he does so many awesome YouTube videos. We feature a lot of them on the Direct Music Service blog, and not only is he great with YouTubing, he is insane DJ. I mean, he can do it all, and he does, when he performs, he does performance with, like, he'll play guitar while he's DJing, and it's unreal. So if you're listening and you don't know who he is, we encourage you to check him out, and because it's amazing. And he's a rep for Pioneer as well, so he is sponsored by Pioneer DJ, and that's going to be an interesting and great show to listen to. So I think that's going to.
Any questions? Send them in. If you have any guests you want us to interview, send those over. Also hit the YOLO line, 562-246 YOLO.
Yeah.
YOLO.
And we just like you guys, we love discussing songs that are working for us. So if you have a song that you think you're playing that you haven't played, or that's just been crushing that you haven't, you know, you're like, oh, I kind of been bringing this one back and it's been working, we would love to hear it. So shoot us a message, a DM on Instagram, send us a text or whatever. We like hearing from you guys just as much as you like hearing us discuss it.
Or hit the YOLO line.
Yeah, hit the YOLO line. And again, we just please ask that you rate and review the podcast. And if even if you can't listen, if you could turn the downloads on, that helps. If you like watching on YouTube, please subscribe, like the video, comment. We're trying to grow our social media as well. So any likes and shares of any of that, we really, really appreciate. And
we just posted about 10 of all of the conga line challenges. Shout out to everybody that sent in conga line challenges. I'm not sure when this one's going to air, but we have a new challenge coming up, right? I think we're still working that one out. So
yeah, we're going to work that one out.
Keep sending the conga line challenge, and those are all live on the Instagram right now.
Yeah, and again, you know, just anything you guys think that you want to hear discussed too. If you have an idea for us to talk about, or people that you would like to hear on the show too, let us know. And I think that's going to wrap it up for today. So thank you guys. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Peace.